we're taking Q&A even after 6 and officially wrapping up. So yeah, so stay with us. And now we're going to go ahead and hear from Miss Eurika. And Eurika is another one of those warm and fuzzy people for me. I met Eureka, I don't remember, I might have met Eureka through Princella, or we met her around the same time or something like that. I don't remember how we met, but Eureka came in to my circle and just started showing up. Like, I have pictures of Eureka dancing at our first, when I was first doing Sony Booker TV, she was a host for that. I mean, she was just, I look back at pictures, I'm like, she was just there. She's been an avid member of Inner Circle. She got a real estate license, and she now works with, as a new realtor, and she works with investors. So that's what I really wanted to. I usually don't talk too much about home ownership as part of Inner Circle, because we're always like, we're investing in real estate. But I wanted to take a step back to really, lay that foundation, because real estate and home ownership is such a foundational principle of building wealth. And so you can't not lay that foundation and go off to, something else. But what I find a lot of times is people will say to me, I can't, afford the house I want right now. So I'm going to just rent this place so I can get to, save up to my dream house and all that. And that sounds good, but you're leaving so much money on the table when you're doing that. Like, so much money you're leaving on the table. Whereas I want you, for a first-time home buyer, and the first-time home buyer now is considered, if you have not owned a home in 3 years or so, anything that happened to you during 2008, 2009, the downturn, you have a new status. You have a whole new status as a new homeowner. And as I was mentioning, the new administration that, has brought a lot of positivity and excitement. One of the things that Joe Biden just introduced was this idea of this $15,000 homeowner credit to really stimulate home ownership. We have this, maybe interest rates going up, all the stuff that might be happening, but it's just a really good time that if you're on the fence and about home ownership, to get off of that fence and buy a house, and think of it like you're buying a house that could be your future investment property. A lot of times real estate investors, I call them accidental investors. They start with their house that they bought, then they rent that out, and then move on to something else. And so if you don't do that, you're going to leave a lot of equity and stuff on the table. So I want Eureka to talk a little bit about what's going on in the market, what you're seeing, how you service women and just people in general. And we'll spend a few minutes doing that, and then we'll come back and really talk about why this is such a good time. Eureka, turn it over to you. Oh, so let's see. I can't hear you. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Uh-oh, can you guys hear me now?
Okay, yes.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Hello. It's liven up. Smile, guys. I'm looking at you. Come on. Smile.
Hello.
Smile. I ain't gonna say the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, so yes, now as far as home ownership and being first time, I had actual slides, Sonia. Am I able to share my screen?
Yep, so Equal may be a co-host. I didn't read that. Yeah, so you're a co-host, so you should be able to. What else does she do once she becomes a co-host?
Yeah, it says host disabled. I mean, host disabled. Well, I'm disabled somehow.
Is she on there twice? Yeah, you are on there twice. We might have sent it to the wrong one.
Uh-oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw that when I was sending you a private chat about the time that it's are you on the phone, Anna?
Hold on, yeah, let me see if I can
So I think we'll go to the other one. Maybe we'll just send the
yeah, let's see if we can do that one. I'm not sure. I don't know, some reason I've disappeared. Okay, well, while we're waiting on that, I can't speak to the home ownership part. Basically, anytime you're going into purchasing a home, you want to look at it as an investment. It's an actual business decision. It's definitely not something to be taken lightly. And I wanted to kind of walk you guys through the steps, but even before we go through that, just understanding that, you have to have some type of plan, whether if this is going to be your long-term, home, or if this is something that you're just starting off with as a first-time home buyer and you plan to, grow from there. Here we go. I think I can now. Hold on. Screen share. Present. Okay. All right. So some of us are beginners in this process, excuse me. And being a beginner, and not just, what I mean by beginner is just you haven't purchased your first home yet. So I want to kind of run down the process with you really quick. But yes, it's a definitely business decision that you're making, and it's something that you shouldn't take lightly. And I want to tell you how to get started. So your first steps or whatever, you'll be, of course, saving for your down payment, and that's budgeting. And that kind of goes back into what Terrell told you about your buckets. You do need to make sure that you're saving, your money, whether it's, tax returns, 401ks, family contributions, things like that. You can accept, this is a question, can you accept a monetary gift to help with your down payment? You can, but you have to make sure that that person actually will allow the mortgage company to give them access to their financials to show where that money came from. So just keep that in mind. How to prepare for your credit. Of course, start as early as possible. Review all 3 of your credit reports and your scores. Dispute any inaccuracies. A lot of people get to the point where they will turn off or try to, they'll close their credit lines. If you have older credit lines, keep them open and just make sure they're in good standing, because your older credit lines plays a big part in your score. Avoid opening new credit lines. You don't want to open up anything new. Of course, stop buying any type of furniture, appliances on credit if you can while you're trying to get into this process. You do want to pay down your credit card balances, bring them down to at least about 30%. And then, of course, paying on time is a big driver of your credit score as well. So you want to make sure that you do that. Now, I get a lot of questions about if your student loans can be removed from your credit report. It can, but in a mortgage process, they're going to do a federal search. So it's going to come back up. So that's going to be an issue for you if it's if you've somehow had it removed from your regular credit score, your credit report. So just keep that in mind, because I know you have a lot of, just keep that in mind. A lot of people that will say, well, we can remove it, but I think it works fine for maybe like car loans, things like that, but not so much for purchasing or getting a mortgage. Mortgage checklist. You want to have your identification, your driver's license, state ID, 2 years of tax returns, about 60 to 90 days of pay stubs, any type of child support, alimony, 401ks, gift documents, and also any type of credit verification. One thing, some people will get into the process and they have things disputed on their credit report. That will become an issue if you try to get a mortgage while you have things actively in dispute on your credit report. So keep that in mind. Just so you know, there is a big difference when you call the mortgage lender and they can tell you they can either give you a pre-qualification or pre-approval. Your pre-qualification is just the information that you give to them. They don't have any paperwork from you, so they haven't verified your income, your tax returns, bank information, anything. Your pre-approval is when they have all of your paperwork, and that's when you actually get to start going out looking at houses, when you actually have the pre-approval. Let's see here. You find your real estate agent. Of course, use your referral network. Definitely the inner circle has a lot of realtors in this community. So you have that opportunity to find, to get references and just research your real estate agent to make sure it's someone, that you're comfortable with and, you have good energy with, and we'll make sure that they have your best interest. Okay, so then after all of that process, the credit, down payment, we can relax just a little bit, because now it's, well, I don't want to say all the way relaxed, but it's time to find a home. pretty much the process here is just find a home, make an offer, home inspection, appraisal, and then you close. We'll get more into detail throughout the year with in the inner circle where we go into more detail. But ultimately, what we don't want you to do going through the home buying process is to come out poor. You have to really have a budget set because you get out here and you start looking at the beautiful countertops and the floors and the light fixtures, and you kind of forget what you should be looking at. Should be paying attention to. It's like I have a budget of $1,500 that I want to spend, but we see this house with these pretty countertops, and now we want, to go up to whatever, because the mortgage lender will give you more than what you're asking for. Now, as far as the whole Biden thing, the $15,000 home ownership down payment, they haven't really laid out the plans on that just yet. It's something that's supposed to be up to a $15,000 tax credit, but they haven't really given any real details on it. So hopefully that'll be a part of part 2 for him of his agenda when it's time. Let's see here. I think, okay. Now I kind of went through that kind of fast, but like I said, throughout the year, we'll dive more into detail about it, but I know we have some beginner homeowners, but I just wanted to kind of roughly take you through the process. And I guess I'm kind of ready for any questions that you guys may have. Do we have any questions about the home buying process, or?
Were there any questions for Eureka? So Eureka, I have a couple questions. Let's see. I took my couple notes. That was really good between pre-qualification and pre-approval, because you hear those interchanged a lot, and people are like, I got pre-qualified. Before an agent or for someone to really start taking you serious as a home buyer, you're looking for that pre-approval. Have you been pre-approved?
You must turn in all of your documentation to the mortgage lender. That's your pay stubs, your tax returns, and of course, completing the application. But until you turn in that paperwork and they go through it, you're not pre-approved. You're just, if they've given you some information, say, okay, based on the information that you're telling me, then you're pre-qualified. But that's the gist of that, just pre-qualified. And unfortunately, no one's gonna take you serious in a home buying process if you have not turned in any of those documents.
And that's what gets that status. To that.
Right.
So in the home buying process, when you talk about credit, isn't there some type of rapid credit type of rescoring that can be done in that process? Or say that someone is really doing the work, doing the process, and they might not have 6 months or a year to do all this stuff with their credit ready. The process can be sped up in regards to them repairing their credit and raising their credit score, right?
There are some credit boost things that you can do. Like I know Experian has their super boost where you can actually add things on like utility bills, some even with rent, cell phone bills that can help drive that score. And to help drive it up faster. I know some people do the prepaid cards. The lenders are starting to get a little iffy about those, because that's ultimately still opening up a new credit line, even though it's a prepaid. But, they're kind of like, oh, well, you don't really have a lot of history on this card. So, it's not really holding a lot of weight to them. They're really going detail. They're really, great. We're great. You got a 720 score, but they're really driving into exactly what's all on that credit report, how long you've had those credit lines open. And I think it's the, what is it called? The new one that they've implemented, the credit 10, and I'm going blank right now. But one thing that's changed is that before they would just look at your credit score and and we just look at it for like a 2-year period or like a year period to a 6-month period. But now they're going back years, like some 10 years, to see if you've had those cards or those accounts open and what's been the payment status. Now that's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna, I don't want to say hurt, but for some that are trying to, let's just say, piggyback off of someone's credit card or things like that, that could possibly not work as well as it used to. If that's
I think that, for me, when I think about the process, I feel like there's a lot of lobbying and advocacy that we really need to do as a population, and as especially when you start thinking about entrepreneurs, or you start thinking about people who just have had credit things happen. For me, when I think about the idea that people are good people that get labeled with a score that is kind of like a worldly system, when you're like, who's Fair Isaac? Is he fair? Like, who came up with that? Like, we never kind of question, who and why. But until we, reform and get those kind of things, we do have to work within the parameters. But just know, as more and more home ownership increases and things happen, then those barriers go up. And it's not like a lot of times, by accident.
right.
For me, I think this February 2021, I have been so inspired. Like, when you go and you read some of the blogs and stuff that we have, part of the inner circle, which will be directly to that site shortly. This whole idea of the women's suffrage movement, the idea of voting rights, and the idea of like how much more stuff. But what I think I've been so inspired by is the amount of work that women have been doing for so long that we're not necessarily given credit for, but not really recognized for. And so it's like it didn't just happen. And I think now, when I think about an era or a new time, I see this power of women. I see the power of women coming together, really getting things done. And this is like really economic development and economic progression is the next wave of the work that we need to do. So we really have to make sure that we are sticking together. And, the idea of saying like, we need reform, and home ownership could be something daunting a year or even 5 years ago. But when we look at the climate and where we are, it's like, people are making all these new programs to say, let's get minorities in homes. But then there's all these other things that like, do you really want us to get in homes or not? So for me, that's something that I'm really, really passionate about, because, me living through the 2008, 2000, that whole, part, most of the people who lost homes during that time just had bad loans. They were never in loans that were even designed for them. Like, those loans didn't just come to the market. They were always there, but they were designed for Wall Street. They were designed for like big business, or, people who, understood real estate a little. And so, so all of that happened, and you lose homes, and then you're now looking at it with, trying to make sure that we are getting the right conversations and reform. So I say that too, in terms of my heart's desire for inner circle and women wealth building, that those are things that we will be able to champion as a group, as a group, to send, letters, to lobby on behalf of things that need to be changed to help really get us to where we need to be. So, yeah, I think that that's really great. If there's any questions on just the home buyer process, we're going to be talking with Eurika. Like I said, before, if you buy your first home like an investment property, not as an investment property, then make sure you get that right. Don't do that. But you use that and you do all the research around how much can I rent this house for in this area? What kind of equity is building up in this area? So you're doing all of that so that you're buying in the best area that you know in a couple years that's going to be where you can rent that and make money, or you can like understand where your equity is going to be for you to put into something else. So that's how women really looking at, you know, that process.
Well, that's like I said, this is the traditional way of what I guess I just explained. Now, of course, when you get Chantel on here and yourself, and we're talking about tax liens and the real the real way to build wealth and really put those man hours in, you know, but the traditional way for, you know, some people, I mean, even for me, we're investing in Gary, Indiana, with some tax lien properties, and the goal, of course, is to take those and you know, do the sweat equity, and you know, then we have no mortgage or anything. So, and even for those that are right now in mortgages right now, you know, of course, the thing to even try to build wealth that way, since if you're already in something, if you're in an FHA, you know, check with your accountant and your tax consultants, but you know, get out of the FHA and get into a conventional. So you can then start.
You say that because, tell them why you say that.
I'm saying that because there's a PMI, there's insurance on that FHA loan. It can range anywhere from $150 on up that you're paying extra every month. So if you're in an FHA, if you've gotten to a point where you paid the property down about 20%, then you want to get into a conventional as soon as possible. And in addition to that, if you're already in a mortgage, start making extra payments in your mortgage to towards your principal, not towards your interest, but towards your.
You gotta know how to do that and do that right. Everything is about the information and the strategies and doing the numbers. You know, people have been with the interest rates being so low. I mean, it's just, you know, astounding how low. People have been saying, I'm going to get a 15-year mortgage. But, you know, it depends on looking at that and saying, get the 30-year just in case stuff happens, but pay it off as a 15-year, pay it off faster, but you're not, you know, held by that. So it's all these different things that you want to weigh out, and you want to do the numbers, should you refinance, how much the cost is going to be. So get with good people, you know, that can really help you think through. So it's not that you're just doing something that you hear other people are doing. So grateful, you know, for you, Eurika, and it's been so awesome watching you flourish as a wealth builder. And thank you so much for being such a part of Inner Circle.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So you have set up the perfect segue. Yeah, you can come. You have set up the perfect segue to